Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Coach Jay, can hear you loud and clear. How are we doing today?
Doing well, doing well. Hopefully you guys can hear us. Audio good, video good. Thank you, Andrew. 1212 says main event. Neen says yes, crystal clear. We are good to go. Welcome everybody to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this session is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We want to talk. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity. We want to see how we could take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. This is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay. I've been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023, and I've been a Topstep coach. Introduced to Topstep as a coach from Mr. Eddie Horn. So shout out to Eddie. If you didn't hear, Eddie did suffer a minor stroke the other day. He is doing well. The team updated us on him the other day. But I got to give a lot of props and thanks to Eddie for even being in this seat at Topstep because he was the first person to tell me that I should be a coach here. I sat on that information for about a month and I said, I don't know if I'm really suited to do it. And then Eddie messaged me one more time. He said, hey, you want to do this or not? It's been a great journey ever since. So shout out to my guy, Eddie. Eddie, we love you. Hopefully a speedy recovery for you. We can't wait to have you back on TV.
Yeah, Eddie, we're wishing you the quickest recovery and back in the saddle. Just a great guy if you ever get to meet him personally. He is what he is on TV. So
yes, he is.
He's a genuine guy, and we wish him the best.
Definitely so. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, my bad. I didn't mean to do that. That is Coach Paul, my co-host in this. Coach Paul, we've been doing this together for, I got to get the date, but it might have been a year on YouTube so far and almost 2 years in Discord together. It's been a fun ride, my man. It's been fun. Yeah. It's just getting started. Let's
fun and educational.
Fun and educational. Hopefully we help you. We're helping you along your trading journey. That is our goal. You are all our chat, our audience. Let us know how you did today. Were you up on the day, down on the day? Did you stay flat? Did you have issues with the Topstep X platform? We understand that there were issues. The team is taking care of it. Any trades that were done pretty much in that first hour of trade, I think the time the team said was 9:30 to 10:30 Central Time, will be wiped. So any losing trades, if you took a winning trade, by all means, keep your money. But any losing trades should be wiped from there. And hopefully, this is just a step in the direction of us shoring up the platform so those issues don't happen. Coach Paul, we were talking before we got on here, and how you would trade with some guys on the floor, and sometimes they'd be upset about some trades that didn't necessarily go their way or they got bad fills on. They said they couldn't wait until trading went electronic.
Be careful what you wish for.
Careful what you wish for.
Unfortunately, it's part of the game. It's even more frustrating when it's live, if you're in a live account. But this is, and you hear me, never enter an order or a position unless you have a stop.
Yep.
The stop will be put in there. And it couldn't, just all platforms have issues. Every one I've ever used.
Every
single one. It's part of the technical world we live in. Also, your internet provider could go down. I've had that one. You could lose electricity. There's a myriad of different risks outside of just trading. So I've found that every time I put an order in, there's a stop that will be in the Globex system. Whether you can reach it or not, you're protecting capital.
100%. I've had issues with my personal account where I didn't have data for a week, and it was probably one of the most frustrating times I've had, because I'm like reaching out to my broker like, hey, please fix this. Every time I would switch over to a chart, it would start the data from right at that point. Pretty hard to trade that way. But I see some people in the chat saying, hey, you know what? what can you do, right? Unfortunately, we don't ever want to have platform issues, but what can you do in that moment? Uh, Not trade is an option. Maybe not even trading for the day. I think one of the most frustrating things can be, oh, and we got to be honest with ourselves. You know, sometimes as traders, we say, oh, I would have had this short from up here and got out down here. Today's the day I would have made $10,000. It's just like, maybe, but let's be realistic. I think what's really important is when you lose control over something like that, um, is to then take control of the actions going forward. I saw a bunch of traders saying that they were just going to lock out, go outside for the day, go do something else because you know that something like this could put you on tilt and then cost you money later on down the line, in the day when the markets come back up because you're trying to chase the profits that you should have made. And I think that's really mature as a trader, to even think that way, because it's definitely happened to me the other way. Right, I have a platform issue, I miss a trade, and then I try to chase a trade that's not really a great one. 250 trading days in a year. You know, Unfortunately, this is one that was affected, but shouldn't affect the rest of the year and your trading career going forward. Um, all right, let's get in.
So
Go
Andrew
Mhm.
says, yeah, but good point here. Trading plan is important. A disaster recovery plan is just as important. But and someone saying institutional clients don't have this problem as often. They also spend millions of dollars a year on they get straight into the Globex matching system. It's very expensive. I'm agreeing. It's frustrating. When I ran a commodity trading advisory, I had every year to have a detailed plan of recovery where I had to rent another office space, a small space. I had to have two different systems. If you're handling public money, it's a big expense. It's one of the reasons a lot of CTAs drop out. It's very expensive. So um, I despise it as much as the next person. But as angry as I get, I can't change it. It's there.
Yep.
So
And one of the best, and I see some traders saying, well, I didn't trade at all, but I wasn't able to trade and things like that. Should I be given a reset or something like that? Team is going to choose how they choose to, team is going to decide how they choose to remedy the situation. I think taking care of the traders that did have losing trades in this is extremely big. Um, Again, my broker, if I have an outage, they don't give me shit. They probably sometimes they don't even answer the phone. Um,
no, they don't answer the phone.
right. Right? They're just like, well, too bad. So yeah, if you missed out on an opportunity to trade, again, I think this is a lesson in as a trader, and it's not a lesson that we want to learn, but it's someone that you have to learn. It is what it is. Got to move on. Being able to, and somebody just said it. Imagine that happened with your brokerage and you took a loss. Again, they're not giving that money back to you, more often than not. So, uh, yeah, we did what we could, and the engineering team is going to do what they can, to improve the platform to make sure that doesn't happen in the future. But again, we're talking about technology. Anything can happen. Let's get into these markets. Let's get into these charts. Not a whole lot on the calendar today. Initial jobless claims did come out, 227,000. Forecast was 235. We did have some Fed speakers today as well. We had Nvidia crossing that $4 trillion market cap, making it one of the fifth largest. Well, it would be one of the fifth top five largest economies in the world, which is pretty insane. Uh, selling chips, selling chips,
And not
uh,
potato chips either.
potato chips. The S&P, we had the S&P making new all-time highs in the futures. A lot going on today. Tariff letters still going out. I think one went out to Brazil. I think that was last night. Anything else you got on the news, Coach?
That's it. Just waiting for the next headline of a tariff, but I think we covered it.
Thank you, Coach Paul. Let's take a look at the quote board. I took a losing day today in this Top Step account. Uh, and that was after the so I don't get this loss back. I just got to sit with it. 36 different accounts. Sorry, 36 different markets we can trade with Top Step accounts. And today, to the downside, we had Lean hogs down 0.91%. RBOB gasoline futures down 1.42%. And crude oil, our biggest percentage mover to the downside at 2.19%. To the upside, we had copper up 2.6%, silver up 2.7%, and natural gas, our biggest percentage mover to the upside at 5.16%. To talk about our big four, we already mentioned crude down 2.19%. The S&P up 0.21%. Gold up 0.36%, and the NASDAQ, where is it? Down 0.2%. Shout out to micro Bitcoin, making new all-time highs in micro Bitcoin as well, up 1.53%. Pull up an S&P chart here, Coach Paul, on a daily because it did make new all-time highs today.
Yes, it did. On less than average volume, classic summer trading session. But as we talked, this bull market is still intact. This technically looks like we can just keep creeping higher. Buy the dip. Buy the dip. I don't actually we haven't closed outside of this range from the last all-time high. But there's nothing structurally that's changed. We're above the 20, 50, 200, and grind higher.
We are slow grind higher. New high is 63.35.50. It did it very similar to the Nasdaq making all time highs, where it peaked above it. But it's this slow grind like Coach Paul is talking about. We're not seeing that kind of blow off top, which might be a good thing, right? Where we're just constantly getting a bid pushing the market up. Also, I just checked if you did have any losses, they should already be cleared from your account during that time. So quick solutions on there. All right, looking at a 30-minute chart from last night, Coach Paul. What is this white line right here?
It's the 199 day moving average or bar moving average.
Yeah.
No, the 200 moving average to the tick. How many times did it hit there? 1, 2, 3, 4,
Three.
3.
Three.
Um, Overnight, it was a good break. But once again at night, it's such light volume.
Yeah.
It's just that, but bouncing off the 200 was a great opportunity. Actually, that was a nice opportunity to get short on a scalp early, even on the 5-minute chart. There's a little bit of urgency, and
In the
this
overnight,
is yeah, on the opening last night. Wasn't it? No,
I think it was the Nasdaq that might have gone.
was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Either way, we had a nice break. It was a nice sell.
Yeah, it was. Nice sell down
Uh,
to that 200, and the line of demarcation, as Billy called it in the chat, does what it does again. I know Jack was looking at 62.88 yesterday to buy. I know he kind of just got stopped out at that level. But again, this just looks like a market that's it's continuing to make higher lows. It's slowly grinding to the upside and is not presenting great opportunities for shorts for a very long time, right? Shorts are kind of, we saw it yesterday. We had an hour of sell off and almost immediately recovered throughout the rest of the day. We talked about this 30-minute candle yesterday, Coach Paul.
yeah. And it just seems it's with this grind with into all-time highs. We get some selling during the day. We rally, make the all-time highs. Before the close, we get the short-term traders liquidate, kind of grind lower, then
Rinse and
I mean,
repeat.
this is a rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Um, Yet today's action looks familiar to yesterday's action. And I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow it does the same thing.
Just
Um,
a slow grind higher. Let me take a look at the daily really quick because Andrew just made a good point. The Nasdaq was completely different today. The S&P high to low S&P daily ATR is 64 points. High to low range today we had 47 points. 47 divided by 64 is
0.082.
73.
73.
73%. 73%. The NASDAQ, high to low range, 188 points. 88 divided by 292, 64% of a daily ATR. The NASDAQ was not a fun market to trade today, in my opinion. Uh, we did come back to that 200 moving average. Similar story here.
Most
It was a
definitely.
nice short initially, but it was chopping around while everything else kind of seemed to get going. Take a look. Go ahead, Coach Wall.
Oh, well, you know what I'm going to ask when you're done with that
Hmm?
for our friend
Oh yeah,
Rusty.
yeah. We got to take a look. Got to take a look for sure. Nasdaq did have a nice short on the open. Again, I know most of us probably couldn't trade during that time, but we'll look at it anyway. We got that urgency. Pretty big opening range here. First 3 minutes was about
That's the one.
60 points. And that VWAP didn't take long to leave that range. Now, by the time we got outside the range, we were maybe 40 points lower than it. Uh, Preempt this trade. Maybe you just wait and take this piece of the move, which there's a lot here. We talked before about getting a 20 to 40 point move out of the Nasdaq. You could have waited for confirmation here and still got 100 points. Pretty nice sell off to the downside, and then we bounced right around this area is where we bounced yesterday. Uh, and
Look at the volume pattern. It was almost exactly the same too.
yeah, almost. Yep. Yes, it is almost
I
exactly the
mean,
same.
it almost looks like a when you're in the hospital watching an EKG machine,
Right.
um, little spike, and then
Then it
it
just
really just gets slow.
yeah, it did.
Look at how low that volume was today. I actually got to take a nap today. It's
Always a
like
good
if
day
I
when you can
sit
take a
or
nap.
stare at this, I'm gonna come up with a reason to make a trade I don't want to be in.
Hey, always a good day to take a nap. Uh, from those lows, we didn't necessarily get that perfect J trade, high volume exhaustion, but we came down to an area where we bounced yesterday. Couldn't find any sellers through 22,900, low of the day 22,901, and we bounced from there. Let's take a look at the RTR. You have a great one too. Let's take a look at the Russell. Completely different market today. Uh, Not all time highs, not even close to all time highs. We're still about 12% off the all time high in the Russell. But it's playing catch up. Russell up 0.5% today. The Dow up 0.38%, while the Nasdaq was down on the day. What are we looking at here in the Russell, Coach Paul?
Oh, nice. Well, we're staying above the 200. We didn't even test it. We got buying. It's funny. Look at that volume, and that was buying off the opening and of this morning. Um, I wouldn't personally trade Rusty overnight. Um, but that, well, completely different than the Nasdaq. So, one of the things we're getting information is, and we've been looking for this, is broad-based rally. There's less risk for money managers to buy the Russell um, versus the Nasdaq, and that seems to be what's going. They're putting money into the in the Russell rather than the Nasdaq. I don't think you know they're liquidating their Nasdaq exposure. I just think they're putting new money into the Russell. Kind of what we've been anticipating.
Yep.
That was a nice trade.
Was it? It
Um,
really got going once we cleared that first 30-minute range. It wasn't as urgent on the first 3 minutes, but once we got out of that first 30-minute range, we got a close above. Yeah, this market did not look back until the end of the day, right? We did get a pullback into that New York session VWAP at the end of the day, but this was a pretty strong market today. And Jack was saying on Topstep TV, and it's kind of what you're talking about, Coach. Like, do we ever see another broad base recession again, right? Or do we see this rotation? Like money comes out of tech and then goes into something else. And again, we're not nowhere near that. We're talking about markets that are making all-time highs right now. But you can see that, when the Nasdaq chops around, we get above average range days in something like the Russell or the Dow, or at range days. Today was a 32-point day in the Russell. Uh, Daily ATR is about 40.
Yeah, and boy, that chart there looks pretty friendly.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. All right. Anything else on the equities you have, Coach Paul, or do we want
Well, let's move on.
to take a look at gold? Still stuck.
Oh
Still
man,
stuck here.
but there's still opportunity in there. But I'm just starting the structure itself. I can overanalyze it. It's it's going nowhere fast, but it's giving good trading opportunity. So still on the um, upside longer term. Um, but I would have expected a break by now. Personally, I just thought there would be liquidations, and that we're getting some, but it's not breaking. It's still onward and upward. We're getting closer and closer to the cross of the 20 and the 50. Um, so yeah, I'll be friendly to this if we get a daily close above the 20.
Daily close above the 20 moving average, which is currently at 33.5740. High of the day today in gold was 33.3940, and we closed right around 33.33 evens. Uh, Still some opportunity, maybe on a shorter time frame. It is These ranges are getting a little bit more consolidated. Uh,
Yeah.
so it is getting tighter, which probably means that we're going to see an explosive move at some point. We don't see gold sit for too long without a pretty big day. Uh, Pretty tight range today. This view, I barely left the range, and I think we might see a lot more of this in the coming days. So 33.40s at the high of that range, 33.20 for the day. Uh, Obviously, if we zoom out a little bit, that range expands, but it's 33.50 down to 3300 is the range right now, I think, in gold. Uh, Anything else you have here, Coach Paul? I think we had, did copper make a new all-time high today? No, it didn't.
No, but it had a nice rally. Oh wait, didn't rally.
No, it just
It had
chopped.
it just chopped, and it's within the 50% tariff on copper.
Yep.
Um, I'm not going to comment further than that. Wow. I'm glad I'm not in the manufacturing business because
Mm,
you most likely use copper.
hmm.
Um, but right, just kind of killed the market.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
I mean,
moving. It was moving pretty well, but now, yeah, we may see these prices for a while.
well, one of the things um, that happens when we have this with 15% move in a minute, people don't want to trade it.
Right.
I mean, I won't
I
touch
don't
it.
want to take that risk. Yeah.
Yeah, like this takes a long time to recover from that.
Yep.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we stay for the next month or two inside that range unless some other statement comes out. But wow, yeah, that market just died. I don't remember any kind of market like that. People are like, uh,
Yeah.
even if you made it,
Yeah.
you're like,
You're counting
okay,
it
if you're
somewhere.
long, okay, I'm done.
Right. I might be done trading this for the year if I caught this. Uh,
Yeah, so
is
not much there. Um,
uh,
and
Got to do it. Got to do it.
and
Digital
there
gold.
it's
Digital gold making new all-time highs today in the futures and spot. 14 114,400 in the futures, new all-time high in micro Bitcoin. We heard the New Mexico officially with the first U.S. state crypto reserve, Bitcoin reserve, and up another 3% today. in micro Bitcoin.
Yeah, and it kind of looked. Speaking of, it kind of looked much like it did yesterday.
Yep.
We look at the half hour. It just burst at a certain time.
So yesterday we were kind of chopping around that 200 moving average for a little while. We pushed above it, and
Yeah,
today
look
it
at
looks
that.
like what we did was just come back down and make sure that New Mexico was really buying, and they were.
And they
Um,
bought more.
and they bought more, and they bought more. Right, here's that headline hour, we'll call it, kind of check down into 50%, and now using that as a support, we break out above it. Um, yeah, this is an extremely bullish market. Uh,
Yeah, that was.
where's the next stop is the question.
And look at the volume on that news, and we're holding that volume. That's big buying. Huge. Um, Now they just this. Let's look at the daily again, real quick. Wow, that's pretty darn friendly. Look, when we talk about an uptrend, look at we talked about this earlier. We come down, play around, kind of like gold. This looks like gold chart. Maybe gold is next. All of a sudden, there's some news.
Right, back to
And
all-time
away we
highs.
go. We're sitting right there. That you don't hear people talk about a quadruple top, double top, triple top. I don't know, but probably no one talks about it. So you know why? They don't. I don't think they ever hold. I mean,
Right,
projecting that higher. Wow, we could move
50s
150 pretty quickly.
right up there.
um, yeah, and plus this is something that one of the things I always love about especially Bitcoin, they're not going to make any more. It's not like a meme coin
Right,
where it can get inflated forever and ever.
finite supply.
It's a finite supply, and I love that idea.
Yeah,
Um,
especially when pretty much every other currency can just be printed. We don't need to get into
into economics or
economics, but
yeah, you know,
it's hard to ignore
who
it.
was it? What was the country that wasn't it El Salvador?
El
What was it?
Salvador, yeah, everyone thought he was crazy. President of El Salvador, like, was it like $50 million or something like that?
Yeah,
He's looking like a genius right now because he bought it and he didn't he got a pretty good price a
yeah, it was about a year and a half ago.
little while ago.
Well,
Fortune favors the bold.
yes, it does. So that's interesting. I'm going to see how the volume as we go higher in the futures, it starts getting bigger and bigger. I've been expecting this for a long time. Bitcoin is a great product to trade. It's, um, especially if you're learning.
Yep.
Um. Anyway, onward and upward.
Onward and upward. Onward and upward.
Like I said, I don't think I've ever seen a quadruple top. Someone finds some information for me, that's fine. I'm sure there is, but
Right.
all sincerity, they don't. This is
It's not gonna hold. This is going. This
yeah.
is going much higher. That is not financial advice. All right, let's take a look at crude oil down 2.15% today. Looked like we were gonna at one point recover some of the range from the big sell-off. I know there was a ton of news out of OPEC. Um, talking about so I'm very confused fundamentally about what's going on in crude oil, Coach Paul, because the headline that I thought I saw, and chat, you can correct me if I'm wrong, was that OPEC was going to slow their supply increase.
but they're going to increase. So that big candle down was, we're going to turn it on and flood the market with crude.
Mm,
Now, I can put my tin hat back on, and this is a very manipulated market. It's a very political market. There's plenty of crude oil supplies, but they are, like they did say that, but they're still going to put more supply into the market. Bottom line, whatever that happens, we cannot control it as traders. We can only
right.
react and execute a trading plan. What I found interesting today, and we were looking at that 20-day moving average, mark that level out. We're not closing above it. We're actually finding resistance there. Now let's look at, yeah. When I mean close on the daily, that means it's got to settle above that. And if it does that, you're going to see funds start coming in and buying it in size. Well, that isn't happening.
Not at all.
So I,
Consistent rejection
I
up here. Volume dies.
yeah,
We don't see VWAP crossing above it.
there's a double top. You could say there wasn't a quadruple top. Um, but look at that. VWAP says it all.
Yes, it does.
Well, let's see what happened when London opened up, because the London market to me is more important than the New York market, especially in crude. Well, and there we go. Right off the bat, before the announcement. Mm,
Yep.
but finished very poorly. Um, so nice trade there. Like I said, I don't know how much, I have to readjust my body. I used to work I'll do a lot of business in London.
Okay.
Um, but I mean, it's a big adjustment. You gotta get to bed at 9 o'clock at night. Um, but and it's a good
Or
place
just
to
take a nap
trade.
during the New York session like you did today.
Yeah,
That'll
I
catch a
could do
better
that.
trade
But look at that. I mean, how many times have we seen that? We see this consistently.
consistently. Uh, Speaking of which, Coach Paul, GK Design asked, can you explain why London is more important for crude?
It's, it's been a energy market. It's the financial center still. But don't get me. I'm not putting New York down, but it's internationally. London has been a center of commodities trading for what, 500 years. I don't know. For a very long time. Um, it's the first financial giant to open, but in commodities, they've been London, Holland have been trading internationally in commodities for what, since the about 500 years. So there's a lot of money that moves through London, a lot of commodities that are traded through London. It's a financial center. It's been around for a long time, but the commodities, a lot of banking industry moves through there, and they opened before us. Yeah, and Richard and Bedstoy, yeah, it's the Brent crude is the global benchmark for crude oil prices, not WTI. Um, so that was just the way it is. But London's been in commodities for much longer time. They have a lot of major headquarters there. And once again, they open before New York in as the world turns. So, and we've been seeing that when they set the tone. So, and we see it right there. Look what happens to the volume. It was a nice move. East India Trading Company, Billy, you are correct. There's a lot of history. If you ever get, if you study the history of commodities and trading, study the East India Trading Company. It's not a glowing history, by the way, um, but
Heard
they
some
are.
stories.
Yeah. So maybe I'll do a history lesson sometime.
All right. We went through the big four. Any other markets you want to talk about? There was a ton of movement. I'm looking at the quote board. Silver moved. All the kind of alternative metals had trending days. This is platinum. Silver had one as well. Again, kind of just go over these. Can you trade all 35 of these markets at the same time? You can't. But I think you can kind of get an understanding of how these markets are moving on a higher time frame, and that might help dictate some of your intraday trades. We know platinum has been, pretty big ranges over the last couple of days. Maybe it's not the easiest market to trade right now, but you know that there's going to be some volatility in this market where if you're looking at the equities and they're chopping around, platinum had a high to low 4% move on the day. Uh, there's you
And
can find some opportunity in this.
so let's go. Let's see London. Let's open up with London Open,
Take a look. An open is right here.
and we see volume start coming in. Okay, nice move. And by the way, go back to that daily. That's another one where it's almost that there's no quadruple tops.
Right.
And we get a rounding. This is I'd almost what's that? I'm gonna look into it. I'm gonna put a stop in to buy it at all time high, one tick above.
Hmm.
Just and for a scalp.
Yeah.
Um, it's on a mission.
It is. It really is. Kind of does look like it's topping out up here, but maybe it's just built. It's not breaking down either, right? We're still seeing higher lows on the daily. Yeah, this looks interesting. And Courtney asked the question: Are metals having a moment, a super cycle? You know, I know
Yeah,
I've read fundamentally supply concerns about platinum. We have the tariffs about in copper. Uh, you know, something's happening. Something's happening. If we hear a tariff headline about platinum, we might be trading 2,000.
yeah. I mean, no problem. I
Right?
mean,
Like,
I'm literally gonna put it. I'm putting an open stop in.
there you go. There you go. That is
Um,
not financial advice. That is just Coach Paul's trade.
yeah,
Uh,
that's my trade. Don't follow what I do
right.
or do what I say. Um, I love it. Let love win. Platinum is. I wasn't going to say that. It kind of looks like Bitcoin a little.
Mm.
Platinum is the new BTC. It has similar daily price action like BTC had in 2017 to 19. Wow. I love this back and forth. I love to see that our audience is um, en- engaged in
Yep.
looking at different markets, and we can all, you know, learn together.
Rowboat caught the move in silver today. Coach Hoop caught the move in cattle, like he always does. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of opportunity, guys. There's a ton of opportunity. Of course, the big four are going to get our initial attention, just because that's what most traders are trading. But you don't have to trade those markets, right? The setups are the same; they apply everywhere. Fundamentally, is some news going to affect certain markets more than others? Yes. At the end of the day, chart is a chart. Apply your setups to that chart. You make some money from it, and the money is still green if you make it. It's also still red if you lose it. All right. Janine asked, "Can we look at the pound and Australian dollar?" Let's
Yeah,
take a
Australian had a nice move today. Yeah, yeah, outdid everything.
Australian dollar up 0.79% on the day, still holding that 20 daily moving average. Uh, I said metals are having a moment, so are the currencies. Uh, Beautiful day. What are we looking at here on the daily, Coach Wall?
Um, well, yesterday we closed above the 20. We had some follow through buying here. Now, the Australian dollar is a tough trade. Look at that.
Mm. Oh yeah, yeah.
um,
This is a market that's again, it's having a moment. It doesn't normally move like this.
yeah, it's and it, but look at we're finishing at the highs of this latest, the recent highs. Um, where I'm gonna say there's resistance after a big move like this in a market. Look at this. Every time we have a big move, it kind of turns around and finds balance. Um, but we're above the 200. The 20 and the 50 are above the 200. This thing is starting to build a nice base for a continuation rally. Um, Against people are getting out of the dollar. And it just doesn't, when we said it, it just doesn't happen overnight. But it's the general trend. Um, Australia was the one today. Matter of fact, as I say that, the Canadian dollar's making new highs. Maybe it's
Hmm.
primed to be the. Oh, matter of fact, I'm just going to buy one as we speak. Um, don't do it. This is only me. I'm not. This is not advice.
Financial advice.
But let's take it. Yeah, nice move. Seems like Canadians finally noticed that and said, "Hey, us too."
Uh, Shout out to Rich and Bedside in the chat. He asked the question and then answered the question: is Australia a producer of copper? Looked it up real
Mhm.
quick. Australia is number 8 as far as copper producing countries go. Does you think that have an effect? Like, the tariffs and copper have an effect on the currency? Well, or are we looking too deep?
Oh, well, it's a good point. That's
Hmm.
a good observation. Canadian dollar, Australian dollar are referred to as commodity currencies.
Hmm.
They're they're rich in commodities,
Okay.
um, metals, grains, ore, um, you name it. That's the bulk of their wealth. So there was time when you see the strength of commodities, they're going to react. So yeah, that's a very good point. Now, it doesn't just like I said, it doesn't happen over a day or a week, but it's a trend.
Right.
And to me, I see all this stuff, and I'm thinking PPI and CPI
Hmm.
are not going to continue to go down.
Hmm.
I'm starting to see it when I go to the grocery store. Like, come on, man, I'm not paying that much.
Right.
And I start blaming Coach Hoop for these high cattle prices. These speculators keep buying cattle, and every
Right.
time I go to the grocery, my steak costs $5 more.
Who's
But
taking money out of the market and going to the grocery store?
yeah, and beating me to it by buying all the steak in front of me. Uh, but commodities are having a day, and um, producer prices. Producers like I look at that copper, and I'm like, I know I used to work with a large fan company for hedging,
Okay.
and like 15% of their cost of production was copper.
Yeah.
Um, so for production, that's a big percentage, and you don't. Now you're telling me if I'm a producer, and overnight and one tweet, my cost of productions just went up for them, and maybe let's say it's 5%.
Right. Yeah. You can't just raise your prices 5%. Can
Yeah.
but
Oh, you will. You'll get it one way or
yeah.
another. That's what I said.
Yeah.
One way or another, they're just not going to.
Yeah.
If
You
they
will
do
you will
need
have to
to,
raise your prices, right? It's
yeah. Either that, you stop making fans
right.
or whatever. And copper's in. Ask any junker. Um, they love copper. It's very. It's they can move it. There's huge demand for copper. So, well, before I go, but when we come back to inflation, the number thinking about inflation, when we look at commodities, well, this is
Hmm.
what's the next PPI?
That's a good question. It's a good question. Let's see if we can find it in the Trader Hub. I know we had Japan PPI last night. Next week. So CPI on the 15th and PPI on the 16th.
Now they take, this used to drive me nuts, and it still does.
Hmm.
Inflation number, CPI, takes out energy, food and energy. Okay. well, if I can't, I don't have energy to heat my house or cool it off, and food, I don't care.
Right.
But producer price index really is really important. Like I said, either they can't. This is if you're a manufacturer, you had you could. There's a cost. You can't just say I'm going to take all the costs. We're going to be out of business.
Right.
It's it's the way it works. All chips have copper. That's a good point too.
Hmm. It's like sometimes you forget where it feels like we're just looking at charts and prices go up and down, but they're real. Like you said, you worked with producers that were hedging with copper futures, right? Where that's the
Yep.
original intent of these contracts that we're trading. We are
Yeah.
just the liquidity in the middle to make sure that prices can move. But there are actual businesses using these instruments to hedge their costs. And yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I look. So I worked with many farmers, and I really enjoyed it because I'm a big fan of farmers. I got to spend my summers on a farm. I never had to work the chores all the time. They do hard work, but they used to complain it was speculators were driving the price down.
mm,
They had because that was I mean, I'm like, but when the price goes up,
who's responsible?
who's responsible?
Right.
Like, I didn't do it. I was just to educate them. The market is the market. By the way, if 90% of speculators fail, they really don't move the market.
Correct.
Demand, supply, the laws of supply and demand. Um, that rules the market. But um, the grains are doing the opposite of everything else. But they can turn around too. So
Wow. Just GDL put in the chat. There was a huge bet made by Bian Jiming in copper in May, almost $1 billion bet. Curious if still holding.
oh yeah, that guy's I love. I don't know. That's a good question. But
I have
well,
to start following him.
yeah, he's a big dog. He's got a lot of courage. He doesn't fuck around.
I mean, if you make $1 billion bet, you're probably not scalping, right?
Well, he's also he's a miner, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
He's
Billion
been in the
dollar
news a few times.
$1 billion bet in May. I'm just looking at this this chart really quick. Wow. All right. 20, 30% on a billion. All right. Any other markets you want to talk about, Coach Paul? We took a quick look at Australian dollar. Any other markets
Well,
you want to talk
someone
about?
asked for a British pound.
British pound on a daily. Looks a little different than the other currencies. A little different.
Yeah, that. Hmm. What's that trend line? Right off the 20. It's holding the 50. Look at that. You're the one who notices it more. On these rallies, when is a good time to buy? What price? Action. That purple line.
Yeah, off the 50.
We saw, and then on the way down, Um, I looks like a place to buy. Let's look at the well, this is the daily,
This
and
is
look
the
at these
daily.
tiny.
Yeah, this is the
So
daily.
this is that trend line. Mark that price out. Let's look at the half hour. I'd imagine it's under the 200. Yep, that trend line is going to touch the 200. Hmm.
Yeah, it was the high of the 200 was the high of the day today on the 30-minute. I came up there, checked it.
And then we had a J trade on the bottom.
Yeah, we did. Some trades in here. Why does this look so heavy on a daily and very consolidated ranges compared to all the other
Well,
currencies?
my initial reading is it's tied to the American U.S. dollar a little bit. They're our closest trading partners. Um, there's a much. They're not part of the EU. Um, that's my first guess. But it's really not a break. It's not good. It's just not participating like on the upside.
Right.
Um, but still in a uptrend by the dip. To me, the
Mm.
selling fails above the 200 and that nice trend line. To keep, I would keep an eye on that, and then especially matching the 200. You could get an explosion in a nice. Oh man, today's high.
Yep.
Um,
Right at the high, right off that trend line, right off the 200 moving it.
and that 200 is moving on a sharp angle down. As soon as it's not smooth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if it gets above it, then we get the beach ball effect. Um, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I'm gonna put that on my watch list.
Ian says I bought today's dip there.
All
Trade Johnny.
right.
Nice trade. Nice trade. VT has a question in the chat. Why is the NQ so choppy today compared to the ES? Rotation. Sometimes money goes to other markets. The NASDAQ had a really nice trending day the other day where it made all-time highs, where actually that was yesterday, right? Real quick trend before we broke. The NASDAQ looks kind of stubborn right now compared to everything else. And maybe it's because it's heavily weighted, 5 companies heavily weighted in the NASDAQ, and Tesla's getting its ass kicked most days. Uh, and maybe we're seeing money go other places.
I think you just said it. Tesla's causing agita for the Nasdaq. Um, remember that's still heavily weighted, and it's going down. It's so and it's kind of being a drag. Also, Nasdaq was it's been the strongest since April.
Correct. Correct.
So
Yeah.
rotation we talked about earlier.
Yeah, rotation. And again, that's why there's 4 different equity markets that we can trade, right? Do you look at them all the time or all 4 at the same time? Logistically that's going to, put some weight on you as a trader, but you can, right? It's do I want to be a Nasdaq trader or do I want to be a trader? Right? You have to ask yourself that question. And if you want to be a Nasdaq trader, you have to trade the Nasdaq where it is. But if you want to, trade a trending market, you could put all 4 of them up and use whatever strategy that you use to identify the trend. But there might be a trader in the Nasdaq that says, "Hey, we love this range, and we're going to trade that. We love the chop." So, and there's no right or wrong, right? Do you want to be a Nasdaq trader? If you only want to trade the Nasdaq, that's fine. That is fine. All right, Coach Paul, we got 5 minutes left. Any other markets that you want to take a look at? Any comments or anything you have before we go? Anything on your scouting report?
You know what? Let's look at the soybeans and the corn because today seems to be the meme of commodities.
Hmm.
No, they're not rallying.
Soybeans. All right. Here they are on the daily.
Yeah. Now look at the opposite of the metals. Um, This big break we've had this week. Um, and that just seems like it's going to continue to grind lower. Um, and why I wanted to bring that up in contrast to all the others. They lost a big market. They've lost the Chinese market, and um, where else are we going to sell it? Um, so th- there's a market that's keeps it looks very bearish. We talked about it late last week, and it's continuing just to grind lower. Um, so let's look at corn is already taken a beating. Turn that around, it's a bull market. Yeah. Um, so there's been good opportunity in the corn. And uh, but just where's the bottom? Well, we'll know after we see a J trade on a daily. And
Daily.
I would call the bottom. But look at that trend.
Yeah, this looks like this reminds me of the Japanese yen. We were talking about it
Yeah.
last year. Looks very similar to that chart. Which is that still selling off? Yes, on a higher time frame. But yeah, corn does
Yeah.
not look great.
No. It's grinding. I mean, it, it's falling off the cliff. Is what it's doing. So I would like to see if I wanted to buy that, we'd have to see a daily on a J trade, and we're not seeing it. And this is December, so this is next. This is the new crop that's in the field. When we talk about Fourth of July, we talked about this. It usually seasonally breaks after the 4th of July, and it just keeps grinding lower. Other than that, I don't see. I'm not. That platinum I'm looking at.
Oh
That's
yeah,
my.
yeah. Platinum
I
is
have
on
my
the
order
scouting
in.
report. All right, let's end it there then, Coach Paul. Any
All right.
final words for the day before we go?
Yeah. Don't force your action. Especially in the equities right now. Don't force it. These are summer. This is classic summer markets where um this is where your patience really has to be at the forefront of your decision making. Don't settle. Don't feel that you have to put a trade on. Wait for the trade you want, and it might not come. That's my advice, and I there's a very high probability it's going to be like that tomorrow and Friday. So be patient.
Patient. Let's check. Tomorrow's Friday already? Wow, that was quick. We just ended on
Yes.
ags. WASD report tomorrow for all of our ag traders. If you are trading the ags, you know that this is the biggest number for you. That is at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Central. Be aware of that. You probably do not want to be holding a position into that number. Outside of that, Canadian unemployment, and it's Friday. Tomorrow's Friday. Trade well, everyone. Manage your risk, and take care of yourself. Take care of your health. Health is probably most important of all. Again, shout out to our guy Eddie Horn. Prayers for a
Yeah.
quick recovery for you. But take care of your health. Go see a primary care physician. Go get a checkup. Go do something like that. Go get a blood test done. Uh, I was talking to one of my friends who's a gastro internologist, whatever they call them,
Yeah.
GIs. Yeah,
This
and he's just like, hey, you know what? It's better to uh, get a test and find out there's nothing wrong than to not get a test at all. So take care of your health. Tell somebody you love that you love them, and we will see everybody tomorrow.
tomorrow. All right. Have a good evening.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.